This is my fluffy, stretchy cat who you can literally do anything to. He'll just purr. So sweet. Alright, go away. Love you. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Torie and this is Holy City Mystic. Thank you so much for being here. So, today we're going to talk about astrology and kids. I have a lot of opinions about this. They are opinions. So, please do what you want with your own family. That's the wonderful thing about being able to have your own family is you get to raise them how you want. With that idea in mind, these are my beliefs when it comes to astrology and children. So, a lot of us have a deep connection to astrology, and astrology has actually helped us become better people in one way or another. It helped us understand ourselves. It helped us really develop a lot of coping skills when it comes to life's issues or lessons. It helps us in our mindset. It helps us stay grounded. And so naturally, if we find some type of modality that helps us be and do all of those things, we want to pass it on to our children. However, signs and houses can usually show up in about 20 different ways. And I know, at least for myself and a lot of my clients, they have had a reading before where somebody tries to tell them who they are, but that is not who they are. Now, the difference is a child who is just learning is learning who they are. If you tell them who they are and you're wrong, you are actually perpetuating this cycle of children growing up with some type of role in the family, with some type of role in their life. So while your intentions are well-meaning, you're trying to gift them with this gift of astrology that you have been given over your lifetime, you might actually be hurting them with it because you are describing something that is not their experience. So, rule number one, don't tell your kids who they are. Let them tell you who they are. Also, paying attention to your child's moon can give you a lot of insights as to what they're feeling. So show up every day with your kids with this spirit of curiosity, with this spirit of, okay, who are you going to be today? What patterns are going to emerge where I see your birth chart, I see what is there, and now I can learn from you. Now I can see how this shows up. I'm not going to tell you who you are. I'm not going to give you, all of these insights that might very well help you later on. You just don't need them now because you're figuring out who you are as a child. Another thing you can do is just a real gift when it comes to your children, and that is watching major transits. So kind of journaling them out for them, because as we go through and we hit different cycles, like maybe a Saturn cycle or even a Jupiter cycle or something like that, we look back and we want to see, okay, what happened the last time Jupiter was conjoined my sun, or what happened the last time Saturn was conjoined my Pluto, or something like that. And it's like, I was 7 years old. I have no idea what was happening then. But you, as an astro parent, can literally journal out that transit for your child and then gift that to them later if astrology becomes a modality that they do want to follow. So that is something that you can do for them kind of behind the scenes and for future reference that they're really going to value later. Another thing that you really want to pay attention to is your child's moon. So this is something that I know a lot of people are very deeply connected to their own moon, oftentimes more so than their sun sign, because the moon is the soul. The moon is on the inside. It's your emotions. It's how you think about things. It's kind of the filter through which we see the world. So with your child's moon sign, you can kind of anticipate how they're going to react to something or how they're going to feel about something. So if your child has a moon in Aries, they're probably going to have really strong reactions to things that they'll get over very quickly. And so it's just the type of thing where you're like, okay, they're going to care a lot about this for a very little period of time. So I can kind of prep myself for that. It's not going to be the type of thing where it's like, a Capricorn moon or something where they're going to hold on to this forever. Like, whatever I do in this moment, they're going to remind me of in 25 years. Or a child with a really strong air moon, where it's like Libra or Gemini, just having those times of connection with them, because that is very valuable to them. That is something that really makes them feel connected and cared for. You know, a child with a moon in Taurus, making sure that their food is good. Their food is exactly how they like it. It makes them feel good in their bodies. When a child with a moon in Taurus has a food that they really, really like, it's almost like a soul connection. It's just like, oh, this is amazing. Thank you so much. This is so good, mama. So just really diving deep into your child's moon. And again, experiment with it. This might be the type of thing where their moon is not very closely associated with the rest of their chart in one way or another. And so it might be the type of thing where you realize that techniques that usually would work for this type of moon don't work for your kid. And so you, again, come at it with a spirit of curiosity where you're just like, okay, well, what does work for you? What is something that I can notice about this? Maybe it's a different aspect of a Taurus moon or a Capricorn moon or something like that that I've never really thought about before, or that is associated with those things, but people just don't usually talk about it. But I want to explore it because I want to connect to my child that way. Another thing that is super cool about kids is they're going to show you the lowest frequency of each sign. And what I mean by that is if they are an Aries, they're going to struggle with selfishness. If they are a Libra, they might struggle with codependence. If they are a Virgo, they might struggle with rigidness. Again, Taurus, it might be that idea of greed or addiction. So that is something that you can really help them with. And again, this is astrology aside. You're not going to say things to them like, well, you're an Aries moon, so of course you're going to react strongly. You're going to know that in your mind and be like, hey, listen, this interaction, why don't you just take a step back for a second and ask yourself the question, am I going to care about this in 5 minutes? Am I going to care about this in 5 days? Am I going to care about this in 5 months? And then just that moment of separation, you can kind of feel that fire within you, that really strong reaction that you have, but then you're giving them a coping skill that they can use for a lifetime, which is that idea of impermanence. You know, this is a really big deal right now, but it's not always going to be a big deal. And maybe 5 years from now, I'm not even going to remember whatever made me so upset today. So you can bring out your child's best qualities because you know their absolute worst qualities are just those good qualities coming out in the wrong way or in the wrong context. So that is another thing you can really help with your children. You know, if you have a family value of humility, where it's like it's part of your family, it's what you and your partner are most proud of, and then your first 2 children also have that idea of, you know, humility and modesty, where you just really feel like you are really good people who like to put other people in front of you. You like to lift other people up. And then you have a Leo child. Instead of ridiculing that child or trying to make that child humble, where it's matching the rest of your family culture, you can actually turn that into leadership, which is something that Leos are so good at. And so instead of being like, no, be small, be quiet, this is part of our family culture, this is part of our family values, you can teach the child how to use that in an appropriate way, where it's cultivating leadership, it's cultivating that idea of, I am shining bright to help you. I'm not shining bright for the attention, I'm not shining bright because it makes me feel good, makes everybody else look bad. I'm shining bright because a lot of people need a North Star, and I'm going to be that North Star for them. I'm going to help them get out of whatever cycle that they're in because I have that Leo quality and that leadership energy. Now, this really wouldn't be my channel if I didn't bring up Yods. So, y'all, journal that. Like, please write out the different things that happen with that. Use whole sign, use Placidus, use as many different house systems as you are comfortable with to really explore the different things that happen with that, because their Yod is going to be triggered every so often, especially with slower moving planets. And that's going to be something that you can really and help them with that. So if later on they do decide that astrology is something that can really help them in this lifetime, and they have a Yod in their chart, they have reference. They have physical things that happen to them, or things that they said to you during those big transits, or things that you noticed that I think can really help them later. So it's really important to understand all this is for the good of your child. And, you know, we want to be the heroes for our kids. We want to make sure that they're doing well. We also want to look good in front of them. And it feels so good to have all the answers. And sometimes we do feel like we have all the answers when it comes to astrology. And so there might be this quality of wanting to give them all the answers, where it's just like, Mom, why is this happening to me? And you're just like, well, Saturn is moving over your sun right now, kiddo, you know, like that's just gonna happen, or something like that. But that actually might be a huge turnoff with the kid and not helpful, because, you know, what kid knows what Saturn and the sun conjunction can do? So I really think taking the astrology out of it, but using all the tools from astrology can really be the best way to approach this with your kids. Now, I don't know what age is the best way to actually start bringing in the terminology and teaching them astrology and everything like that. I don't have the answer to that. So that's really going to have to be something that is a choice that you make on your own. I do think under 10, it might be more harmful than helpful. Again, this is my own opinion. This is how I raised my family. Please do it your own way. I'm not telling you your way is wrong. I'm just telling you my rationality for what I believe about it. So the upshot of this entire talk is really just let your kids show you who they are. Let your kids become their birth chart on their own without telling them what they are. And I know it was true for me, it may have been true for you as well, where my parents would tell me things about myself that I didn't connect to. I didn't feel like it was true about me. And this may have been some of their projection on, you know, what they were like when they were a kid, or something that they observed, and they attributed it to something that wasn't true about me. But associating that with astrology, I feel like would be so much stronger and harsher on a kid. You know, being like, well, you're a Leo, so of course you did X, Y, and Z at school. Duh. You know, it's that type of thing where it's like you can validate who they are when they tell you who they are. You don't necessarily have to spell it all out for them, because you might be wrong. Because every sign, every house can show up in 20 different ways. And so really just observing, being your child's guide, their cheerleader, and also their historian when it comes to major transits in their life, I feel like that's the biggest gift you can give your kids when it does come to astrology. So I hope you guys are well. Thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next time.